Hello and welcome to my second to last Edinburgh Fringe 2021 show at PBH Free Fringe. This story is called A Widow's Landmark and is from a passage in the instructions of Amenope. My mouth is really not playing well today. Remove not the widow's landmark and enter not into the field of the fatherless. This is an instruction as part of the moral guidance for Mart. The idea with Mart was that to enter the afterlife, your heart should be pure, and to be pure, you follow a variety of different moral guides. In the negative confession in the Book of the Dead, there's 42 of them, but they are all fairly well defined. You know, don't kill, don't steal, all of those kind of things. Whereas the instructions texts are more philosophical and sometimes more practical. So in this particular story, based on this one, we are going to see somebody who really didn't get that memo. The sun beat down onto Hort as she kneeled at the foot of the sealed door to her husband's tomb. She was sobbing her eyes out, oblivious to the other mourners who were now departing after the final rites were made. The only person to remain is her son, young boy, Sam, a precocious 7-year-old. While he sits there, rubbing her shoulder as she cries, he watches the crowd. There, mother. It'll be all right. I can help. Through her sobs, she mutters, "You will, in time, my son, in time." Yet, the hunters have come to feed on our carcasses all too soon. Her eyes scan the departing crowd. Some of those mourners cast dark glances towards them, eager glances. One less landowner and land for the taking. Through her tears, she looks at her son, who eagerly watches the crowd. "I fear, my son, that we may lose more than your father." Later that day, Usa, one of the mourners, on his return from the cemetery, takes his son Ams's arm and leads him to the side of the hut before entering it. "Quickly, while your mother is out of earshot, something I want to talk to you about, Amsi." "What is that, father?" Amsi replies. "Well, now Tahort is all alone, with no one there to help run that farm of hers, I think we have an opportunity to expand our own land and fortune. What do you think of her? I know you used to play with her together when you were both little." Well, Amsi blushes. He remembers those days. They were carefree. He loved those carefree days until the time to come to work on the farm with his father. Hard work. "Yes, we used to be close," he replies, "and I worshipped the ground she walked on. But it was clear her heart laid elsewhere. Why do you ask?" His father, Usa, laughs. "Are you stupid or something? You stand a real chance of taking that farm and her if you play it right. You think so? Amsi looks quite confused. Look, my son, why don't you go and visit her? She could do with a shoulder right now and a friendly face. See how she feels and sound her out for what the future could bring. Amsi smiles. It would be good to see her. And he hurriedly leaves off and heads back out towards the farm. Usa's wife comes back out of the hut carrying a tray of food. Where's Amsi gone, she says. Usa, no, do not worry, Mosey. Usa's gone on an errand. I don't think he has food on his mind right now. But let us eat now. I'm sure we won't need to wait long for him to return. It doesn't take long for Amsi to return back to the farm. It's empty, desolate, and quiet. He approaches the door and hears the sobbing. Carefully, he pushes the door open to see Tainted curled up on the floor crying. No sign of Sam. And he steps through the door. She looks up through her tears and wipes her nose with the back of her hand. It's good to see you, Amsi, she says. It's been a while, what with the funeral preparations and, of course, working the farm on my own. Unfortunately, Sam isn't quite ready for some of the heavy work yet, so it's all down to me right now. Amsi's face softens and he kneels down beside her. Reaching out to touch her shoulder, he strokes it. I quite understand. I'm here for you anytime you need me. Remember when we used to be together all the time? We used to have so much fun, didn't we? She nods. I'd like to see you laugh again, he says. She smiles. The sorrow of her husband fades slightly, but doesn't fade for long, for Sam walks into the room. What is he doing here, Mother? He points, throws such a nasty glance at Amsi. Taintet's smile fades rapidly. Amsi, he's just come here to see how we are. Sam screws up his eyes and looks at him carefully. I saw him and Usa watching us at the funeral. Watch him, Mother. He wants our farm and I won't let him steal it from us. Approaching the pair, he edges forcibly between the pair of them and Amsi backs off slightly, looking alarmed. Falling backwards onto his bottom, Amsi shuffles back and makes to his feet. Sam spreads his legs shoulder width and puts his hands on his hips. I know what you want, looking at Amsi. The farm belongs to us. It will be fine in a few years, and I'll be strong enough to do the work myself, and it will belong to me. And in that time, I will do everything within my power to protect it and my mother. Tainted pulls at Sam's legs to move him out of the way, but he shuts her up with a quick look. But that's not in that time. Amsi leaves rapidly. Sam, that was a horrible thing to say. I've known Amsi since we were little. But yes, I'm aware various people will be trying to get their grip on our farm. I don't think Amsi would be a part of that. Anyway, even though I loved your father, I still have to think of our future and how we will survive. Usa watches as Amsi returns along the dirt track. Well, he says as his son arrives. Well, Amsi shaking his head. It was going well until her son Sam came in and accused us of trying to steal the lamb from them. His father, Usa, laughs. Well, he isn't wrong there. That boy is gonna be a problem. If you were to become her husband, of course the boy is not your son, is he? And that could be a problem. Amsi replies, yes, I'm sure. That is true, but I will love him as my own. No, son, that might not be enough, if you get my meaning. He will still be her son, and that land will eventually go to him. What are you saying? Amsi replies, looking quite confused. My son, Amsi, you really are stupid, aren't you? He needs to be out of the way, is what I'm saying. Amsi looks shocked. No, I can't do that. Killing, it's not right. Before Isa can reply further, there's a crash of a noise round the corner from the hut. Both look startled and hurry round the corner. And what do they find? They find a young Sam lying on his back in the dirt with a load of wood that had been stacked up against the side of the hut fallen on him. Usa towers over him. Well, well, what do we have here? Someone listening to a private conversation, is it? That is not a good thing to be doing. It's late at night, and Sam struggles against his bound hands. The small, dimly lit room, lit from a small window crack in the ceiling, gives him enough light to realize he's in a storeroom of some kind. Lots of jars and boxes line shelves and are stacked in various places. His feet are not bound, but he is also gagged. What to do? What to do? He goes through his mind. There's no sound outside. He's not sure how long he's been here. And he's not sure if they will go through with what he overheard earlier. He must escape. Scanning the room, he sees some edges of some stone chests. And scooting over, he reaches behind up and rubs frantically to try and see if that would sever the bonds. Takes a while, but the stone edge finally cuts through. And now to escape. Plenty of boxes. He can climb to that little hole in the ceiling. He's small. He should be able to get through. Stacking boxes one after the other. It's highly risky. Hopefully the boxes will hold his weight, and he scrambles up, catches the ledge and pulls himself up and through. He managed to reach a ledge and runs along the roof and finds a way down on the backs of some other boxes and crates. But he's spotted. The cry goes up. It's Usa. Usa's seen him. He calls to his son. Sam needs to run. Where to go? Where to go? And a plan forms in his panic. He heads towards the cemetery, to the tomb chapels. They are hot on his tail, but he's fast and nimble. And into all the cemetery, the necropolis, all the little tombs hide his cover, and he runs through, zigzag, through the various avenues. Climbing, he manages to find what he's after. He climbs on top of a newly constructed, partially constructed tomb. He lies in wait to see where Usa and Amsi are. He waits for a while, but then catches sight of them. They have split up, probably to try and cover as much room as possible. So edging round the side, he throws some loose rubble down into a nearby passageway. That draws their attention, certainly, and soon they are converging on where he is. He has to time this right. As they near, he stands up in clear sight. And so, with a shriek, they chase him further. They scramble up the building work and edge towards Sam as he backs away to the far corner of this construction site. As they get closer, Sam takes his chance and runs along a plank spanning some building work. He is light and passes by very quickly, down and into the darkness. But these other two, larger, heavier, and together, forget their senses and charge after him. Their weight is too much for the plank, and it breaks. They fall with a crash. There's silence. Sam, from his hiding place, crawls out and peeks over the edge to see their bodies inert on the ground below. He grins and returns home. It's sometime later, again at the funeral at the necropolis. But it's this time Mosi weeping at the foot of the door that has been sealed to the tomb of both her husband and son. Tahort walks up to her, all alone. Mosi, I am so sorry for your loss. So cruel to lose both your husband and son. A tragic accident, I understand. Mosi looks up and holds out both hands that are offered to her. Thank you, she says through her tears. Tragedy has claimed both our families, hasn't it? Tahort nods. Yes, that is true. If you need anything, I'm sure myself and Sam will help. We know how it feels right now. Mosi looks around, and with all the other mourners departing and out of earshot, she gets to her feet and puts her arm around Tahort. Actually, Tahort, I was going to visit you once this was all over, but now is a good time as any. Unlike you, Tahort, I have no son now to take over the farm, and I can't manage it on my own. It's way too much. So I have a proposition for you. On the day of the accident, I overheard Usa and Amsi talking about you. I know Amsi was really sweet on you before you married your husband. And had things turned out differently, perhaps I would be calling you my daughter. Maybe I could still do that. How do you feel about us joining forces? I'm happy to think we could help one another out. And in the end, Sam, your son, and my adopted grandson will be the proud owner of a magnificent farm. Tahor is wide-eyed. Wow, that is very generous of you, Mossy. And yes, thank you. What a great idea. Thank you, Mother. So what do you say, Sam, to this option? Sam looks at both of them. He smiles a very happy smile. Thank you. Thank you for all those that came. And hopefully tomorrow is the last of my Towers of the Tainted Mart for PHP Free Fringe. And that one is based on a true story, the Harem conspiracy. So see you all again soon, and goodbye.